Welcome to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode 94, the second of the new year, 2023, picking up steam. And we're here once again, Ethan. How are you?
We are. We found ourselves in the podcast zone, as they say.
Yeah, we jumped into the podcast zone today.
We did. There's a lot of zones happening, a lot of loading zones, loading zone to loading zone, as they say. And
Yep.
yeah, we have, there's a lot going on. We actually just got back from seeing each other in person. But this is our window to record because I'm going to get back on the road the next 2 days. And this is kind of the best time. So yeah, we both just saw each other. So we are freshly, kindred spirits, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough too because we were in the hangout zone yesterday, and then both of us were in the travel zone earlier today, and now you hop right back into the podcast zone. I mean, you have to be able to move pretty quickly with this type of thing, and we're no stranger to this, but right. the beat just has to roll on. But I have to say, Ethan, the last 2 weeks of my life, they have felt so packed with things going on, and it's felt like it's been 2 years worth of stuff. It's been about, I think, 2 weeks since we've recorded an episode for this show, and a lot has happened. I mean, we ripped the holidays, we visited people. My hair is all gone. I cut it. So I successfully squatted 600 pounds. Right. So I was able to chop my hair after 10 months of pain and anguish, but that's all gone now.
Congratulations. It was almost a year?
It was almost a year. So the last time I cut it was in March. So I guess, 3/4 of a year. It was right before I came to visit you in Birmingham. So and once again, nice. I cut my hair right before I go to meet up with you in New York. So
yeah,
you're the catalyst, I guess. I finally dispensed with that goal. But yeah, I just feel like the last couple of weeks.
It's a great start to the new year.
Yeah, I feel fresh start.
You check something off right as the year ended. You cut your hair, changed your name.
Just to prove that I have control over something. And I traded this life for fortune and fame.
But yeah, the holidays did go by. They went by fast.
Yeah, as they always do.
Yeah, and you are obviously... you still live close to home, but I travel back for holidays, and I like that. I like coming back, traveling back for the holidays. Feel like feels like a Christmas movie, but
right.
It's draining at the end of the day. All the family time, just being out of rhythm of your normal routine and stuff, and sometimes feeling out of place to make things work. So, if you're out there listening and you guys feel the same way about the holidays, can be draining at times. We have a new year, and we have a lot of great opportunities coming up in the month of January and February. So, take solace in that and know that, we're on the up. Everyone's on the up right now. There's no exceptions. The train goes on. And we need everybody to get on. There's a train coming to you.
We got, as they say,
this is your Cocoa Puff.
Some big things coming. Big things going on behind the scenes right now. Major announcement on the way. And like you said, I mean, things are on the up and up, and there's a train coming. And, over the holidays, there was a little bit of activity. And we do have a new member of the Grunge Bible Patreon, which now, as is accordance with our most cherished wishes, we must thank the Patreon supporters who make this podcast run. So over the last couple of weeks, it's been a little busy, but we have a new $2 member, and their name is Jonas Carlson. So thank you very, very much for your support. Lets us know that you like what we're doing, and we're really thankful. Holidays are a hectic time. They're an expensive time. So the fact that you found it imperative and important to support us is really, really cool, and it makes us feel quite warm and quite fuzzy. So Jonas Carlson joins the ranks amongst the legion of $2 and $5 supporters. But alongside of them are the $10 supporters that make this show run, the meat and potatoes of the operation, who really, we wouldn't be here without them. So at this time, I'd like to thank our current and present lineup of $10 supporters on Patreon. And their names are Christine Shepard, The Blue Owl, Alexis Shannon, Black Hole Sean, Alex Long, Brother Nature, Captain Hightop, Kara K, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Doug Endy, Jade Mercado, Granny Grunge, Fuck Soup, Faith Bittner, Fresh Tendonitis, Carlene Salona, our number one fan from Australia, Jamie Lynn, Chris LSMS, Lauren Irene, Marianne, Millie, Nikki Six, Rachel Corning, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Shoe the Shoeless, and Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey. So thank you one and all for your support. And if you're listening to this right now, thanks for giving us some time. The beginning of the year is always really hectic, and the fact that you're choosing to spend some of it with us is really cool. We really appreciate that.
You know, I'm always, I hear you say the list every week, and I'm wondering, you know, if I'm ever going to say the names of the people. If we're ever gonna...
You've never asked.
No. I mean, I've let you do such a good job at it. And no, I mean, you know, it's kind of your space, but I'm always wondering if the people out there are, you know,
well, that's true. Maybe there's, now that we've voiced this as a possibility, maybe we're going to receive some feedback.
Because we go back and forth on who brings us in, and we go back and forth with everything else. But this has always been your zone.
I'm in the thank you zone right now.
Yeah. You're always the thank you zone. So I don't know. We can't force it. We're not gonna do it next week because, you know, it needs to be authentic and when we switch it up. But you know, I was just thinking about that. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I thank you everybody that shows some support. This year we do have big things coming.
Major announcements on the way. So we are very excited, as we said in our last podcast. It's going to be really fun. So we look forward to getting into it. And we actually, you know, we finished the year off with, or started the year off with meeting up with somebody, Eric Lederman, and being able to go into New York and see the late night show with Seth Meyers. And we got to talking about music naturally. We went to dinner, and we couldn't really go long without bringing up and talking some music and some grunge. And I think that it was kind of unexpected. Not unexpected that we're going to talk about it, but unexpected that we had just a really nice conversation and kind of talking back. There's some new footage that came out. It was the beginning of December for Alice in Chains in '96, and I think it got us thinking again. Yeah, and I think just like the whole genesis of what we're going to be talking about today, and the genesis behind us being able to see one another the last couple of days over in New York, you know, through our friendship that we've grown with Eric through the page. I mean, these are, you know, different ingredients to the whole puzzle as to why I really enjoy what we do here, because, you know, you get together and you share stories and experiences, and you know, Eric, such a great guy. He is you know, a veteran of the Grunge Bible podcast. So episode 38, we had him on in December of 2021. One of the best episodes that we've ever done, talking about the 90s grunge and drumming, all things drumming. So I implore you to check that one out. But yeah, it was really interesting. You know, we were getting down to dinner. We were hopping into the sushi zone a little bit. And, you know, I mean, Eric is a total connoisseur of music. He's an enthusiast. He is a tastemaker for us, certainly. And, you know, obviously you end up talking about the things you're passionate about. And recently, earlier in December, there was some new footage that was released that was probably sitting around for many, many years, of one of Alice in Chains' final concerts with Layne Staley, one of their final shows that took place on June 28th of 1996 at Tiger Stadium in Detroit, Michigan. So previously there were only like 25 seconds of this video that were released, and it appears as if it was, you know, some news person, an individual there for some sort of news outlet was there recording some of the shows for something that obviously never aired. So there was about 7.5 minutes of footage that was released of Alice in Chains performing two songs, Again and God Am. This was on their final tour with Layne opening for Kiss. And I believe his final show was not even a week later at the Kemper Arena, I believe, in Kansas City. So, and we started talking about this one. And if you go back to that episode 38 that Eric was in, we did talk about Alice in Chains' self-titled record. And he characterized it then and once again this week with us as kind of like a fiend record, and like something you spend a lot of time with it for a week and then you have to put it away because it's so heavy. And you know, the three of us all shared those thoughts that seeing this footage, it's great footage. It's right from, you know, the security line basically, and you know, right where all of the camera people are, right in front of the stage. I mean, it just kind of reiterates the time and place that, you know, the band was operating in then. And it really kind of drives home just how heavy how heavy the time was for the band, and especially Layne. I mean, I was fixated on him the entire 7.5 minutes of this of this footage that was released, and it was good to share our thoughts and just to, you have conversations with people and you're actively honing your thoughts throughout those conversations.
Yeah, and the it was a 7-minute video, and pretty much the entire time was focused on Layne, and I think that when it happened in '96, it's one of those things where it comes out now, and it's like to look back into a time period, a time and place where we know the end of the story, and
Right.
what what follows, and I think that's why, because it surfaced, it was really heavy for everybody that seemed to watch it. When you read through the comments and you talk to the people, and because you know how it ends, and I put it on, and the first 15 seconds is Layne walking out, and it's like I said, it's a ground level shot, so you're kind of looking up, and Layne just walks out, all black sunglasses, slick back hair, just skinny, like very slender, and he just walks out, and everybody's cheering, and he just has a stare into the crowd, and then he walks up to the mic and stands there for like another 10-15 seconds before they start going in, and it is very chilling. It just shows you can just like everybody said, it's hard not to kind of swell up in the eyes, and when you're thinking about this man and what kind of talent he is, and then what he was battling during this time, and knowing that, like you said, a week later was his last show, and to think that he lived another 6 years
Right.
before he passed is it is sad. It's really sad. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like it shows his greatness in the video, but it also shows like the struggle. So
Definitely.
you get a lot of mixed emotions. So it's a very emotional 7 minutes, and it's special that it was posted. This type of stuff resurfacing is pretty unique.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of share some of my thoughts on it and see if you agree and see if you're coming from a similar place. Now, obviously, you were born in 94, I was born in 96, so there was no chance that we were ever going to see Alice in Chains with Layne Staley live. And, when we kind of got turned on to the genre, we were in our late teens, I would say, mid-teens, late teens. And because it's all so accessible, I remember vividly just kind of devouring anything, grunge related, Alice in Chains related. So you go through the records, you pick up Dirt, you pick up Facelift, you get Sap, Jar of Flies, the self-titled Three-Leg Dog album, and the nuts and bolts of the story. That Layne Staley passed away. That he struggled with various addictions, mental health. Always a constant battle. But it's just like one of those things that, for as long as I've been a fan, and I've been a fan of this music for probably I'd say 10 years now at this point, I still struggle to bridge that gap. That these were people who created these artistic products, but they weren't just the creators of an artistic product that I consume and that I enjoy, that they were people and that they had humanity about them. And that's something that I still struggle sometimes with Layne and Kurt, like realizing and remembering that, these aren't just the people that created some of my favorite songs. They were the people that, that lived in their worlds with their friends and their families and their vices. And this video just kind of reopened that, and there's a lot of, I think, administration that goes on with this page of, picking stuff to post, and, it becomes like commodified a little bit. So this video caught me off guard in a big way, and it's definitely my fault, because you get into that zone where you're kind of thinking about it like that. But it was just a sobering reminder of what people deal with, and that the people who create the things that we consume. Especially when it comes to art, like they are people, and they lived or they live, and they have things going on, and it's just sad. This video is really, really sad. It's a heavy time for the band, and certainly for Layne, and this video really, really drove that home for me once again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well put. I echo that a lot. I feel like, I said the holidays are kind of a weird time, and sometimes I feel like I can be floating when I come home and be in a weird spot, and it can be weird in whatever ways. And I feel like this is a good reminder to it's just a good reminder to to find good friends and find people that if you are, out there, struggling in certain ways, that you got to have your anchors in life, and you got to really be, ready to lean on them, because it is so draining, and it can be so difficult to bottle this stuff up, or try to do it on your own and try to figure it out and kind of, work through it yourself. It's just not a weight that you want to bear by yourself. We got to talking about the bands and everybody involved in it, and because they were some of their best friends and stuff, and they lived and they saw all the struggles and stuff, and that was hard for everybody involved. So I don't know. I like I said, I watched it too, and I was just like, it was heavy in its own way. So I don't know how many times you can feel these types of emotions about the people, like, and have these conversations and still feel like similarly. But this one definitely, like, I feel like I told you just the other week, like, I don't know how many times we can, post an anniversary and feel it, but then all of a sudden, you have it.
Then you're reminded of it.
Yeah, you're reminded of it. And I think sometimes a lot, I'm 28 years old and you're 26, and, Layne passed at 27, and people passed in their 20s.
I think Layne was about 30, 34, 35,
yeah.
And Kurt 27, obviously, and many others younger.
And a lot of times when we watch these old videos from the 90s, they're between 21 and 27, so they're just in our age zone, and that is always weird to think that the stuff that I'm feeling right now in my life, trying to figure out where and what I'm doing, or you're doing the same and you're struggling with that. They were doing the same thing in the 90s, and they were also thrown into fame and
in the public eye. Exactly,
in the public eye, and that's something that everybody wants. Like, I mean, you want to be successful. We have our outside endeavors, or maybe with this project as well, we have endeavors to be successful. But then I always kind of get caught up, or I always kind of step back and, like, I don't know if I could handle that in like
right.
in a certain way. And it's and I don't want to say they didn't ask for it in a lot of ways, but they had to bear that identity as a superstar, and people loving them and expecting, like, I think someone commented, was like, I can't imagine him, like, a lot of people that comment are more sober for a long time. It's like, I've struggled, and I know that took a lot of balls, a lot of courage to go out there and perform,
right.
with the anxiety and the everything kind of mounting for him as a person. It's an incredible feat that he went out and delivered, the songs and the show that he did. Like, that's not easy. And you can imagine yourself doing whatever you're passionate about, or your job, like, how sometimes it really is difficult to get out there and do it. So, man, it is quite the resurgence of, these two songs. So
yeah,
I'm excited to go back to the album again, and scared.
It definitely is. And this is, our conversation with Eric, we had the same things. He was able to see the Dirt Tour, for example, and, just talking about that, and, our age-old habit of going into the YouTube comments, and one that stuck out to me, and I posted it in the comment section of the Instagram post that I made when I shared this video, I guess about a week or two ago. But somebody commented and said, wow, I was there. I remember his death grip on the mic like it was the only thing keeping him upright. He never moved from that spot. And that just kind of, little things like that, like an eyewitness memory of it, it just kind of puts the humanity back into it that you forget about a lot of times, and that I forget about a lot of times, because I think I'm definitely guilty of viewing this music sometimes as, content to post, for other people to share in, and for other people to share their memories and share their thoughts, and, just try to think of myself as like a facilitator of moments like that for other people. But, it's necessary and it's important, for their legacies and for a full appreciation of the music to create those moments for myself, and to think about it for myself, and to realize that it's not just, lyrics that are written down, or album covers, or, live performances that are really good. It's, it's people, and it's things that people are writing about. And, it's just it's a window into time. And, talking about this, this self-titled record, and I definitely think that we're due, or maybe even overdue, for a proper review of this, and definitely I think it would be cool to have Eric on it, on that episode, just because of the relationship that he has with that record. And it's just kind of, it's like a post-mortem. It's like an autopsy of a certain time. And, Jerry Cantrell was talking about that album and, recording that. And he said, there's a sadness to that record. It's the sound of a band falling apart. It was our last studio record to that point. It's a beautiful record, but it's sad too. It's a little more exploratory, a little more meandering, and it's not crafted as well. It's not crafted as the rest of our records were. Talking about the fact it's the sound of a band falling apart. And you watch, you juxtapose that with, watching the footage from those tours that they did, and those performances that they did in June and July of '96, and it kind of puts you back there, and it gives you as clear of a window as I think you could have without, being a part of the band or being a part of the infrastructure around the band.
Yeah, I been thinking a lot about situations and music, kind of what you said, and I think the best way to describe it is you hear music, and usually it's you take it selfishly. You kind of apply the music and the songs to your life and how it makes you feel, and how and if they wrote them for you, but like you said, you need to step back and realize that they wrote these songs out of their experiences and what they were dealing with and struggling. That album is time and place for exactly what the band was for, where when we consume it, you don't have the full story, and you kind of you always apply it to yourself,
right?
And so I think trying to get in the in the zone to really see what they were dealing with and how they came with this album. And it's a product of the time and place. It's a product of that time of their lives. And I guess, I'd be interested to see if, I'm sure they're still happy they have that album, but I mean, it could be a weird aspect of it too.
There's got to be a level of it being a tough memory, and even that perspective. Jerry, the quote that I just read from Jerry, that was from 2018, so that was 23 years after the record was released. But in the infamous Rolling Stone article that they did around that time, where they interviewed Layne, he was talking about what was going on that record, and he was responsible for the lion's share of the lyrics on that record. And he said, we had good times and we had bad times, and we recorded a few months of being human. So he's talking about things that he's dealing with at times. And he said before that he would try to write songs that were just so dark and so depressing, in a hope that they would be therapeutic, but it just started to drag him down and keep on, it just kept on hurting him. So he just decided to say, I can write good music, and I'll just write whatever I'm kind of thinking about. And he certainly did. He's a few months of being human. And it's got to be a weird thing. We have, in our own lives, we have reminders of, what certain periods of life of, that we went through that are reminders of this was us being human and conducting ourselves at this point in time. And, we don't certainly have to share it with the world, and we're not expected to. And that's a tall order that I think can get really heavy when you're struggling with the day to day, as Layne certainly was at that time. And we were talking with Eric, and just kind of wonder the day to day of recording that album, what that was like, and how difficult that probably was. And it's a weird thing to share, your darkest moments with millions of people, and that's something that I don't know what that's like, and I hope that I never know what that's like, because it's not. Can't imagine it's easy.
Yeah, it's that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't really know where else to go with it. It's heavy. It's good. It's a good reminder. I think that it's an important 7 minutes of footage to be able to look back on and think about. Anytime you're in a situation, you probably don't realize the severity until a couple of years pass. So there's times in our lives where we'll look back and it'll be similar. And there's the signs may be there, but when you're up close, you can't see them type stuff. So
exactly. And it's funny, Ethan, there's conversations like this always remind me of we had an old friend several years ago who cautioned us, with a lot of this music. He's like, you have to be careful not to spend too much time around it, or else, it can kind of recalibrate some things in your head. And for me, with Alice in Chains, from the get-go, it was always Jar of Flies that was that one for me. But over the last year or 2 years, it's kind of that self-titled album has become more and more of it. That record that I'm a little, I don't want to spend a lot of time with it because it's heavy, and it has a toll, and it certainly does. But I think the coolest thing, that we have is that we can have these conversations with people who, share an equal passion as we do, and in a lot of cases have insight that we don't, because they were there experiencing the time period and the ups and downs of the band as they happened, and getting the new singles and going to shows, and on maybe not the band's best night, or one of the band's greatest nights. And it's just all of those things, I think, can kind of illuminate that experience we have as fans. And certainly for me, I can grow the appreciation and the understanding of the fact that these were things that happened. It sounds silly, like we're spending 30 minutes talking about the fact that, holy shit, Alice in Chains with Layne Staley was something that actually happened. But from our perspective, it's difficult to put the two together sometimes. And it's conversations like this, it's conversations like the one that we have with Eric, and it's things like the video being released of that show in June of '96 that kind of reiterate the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about unseen footage. It's probably going to become. I mean, now footage is hardly ever unseen. There's nothing that gets if
There's
it's
no
video
vaults anymore. Yeah,
the vaults is not the same anymore. So, I think a lot of people will document a lot more of their life, and maybe in memory, or you have a lot more communication, as we talked about. So you're maybe up on things, but. For those times, going back and seeing stuff that you show pictures to your, say dad or something from a certain time, or your grandfather or something. I didn't know this picture existed. And then
Right.
I remember my coach, he's like, I had no idea this picture existed. This takes me back immediately. Mm-hmm. And those things, literally a time capsule, and it is, those are special. So, at the end of the day, this is, a special, a gem that did show up, I think, in a lot of people. It's, you can tell a lot of people are very thankful that it showed up, and for their personal reasons. So
yeah, exactly. Because
definitely go out and listen to it. Go out and check it out,
Yeah,
so you can
100%.
understand, and kind of, be in on the conversation in a way.
Because all of the comment sections were, the same emotional reconnection that we had with these elements that we're having right now in this conversation. People are having them, they're watching this, and it's it just kind of reconnects you with the music and the people who made the music. More importantly,
Right.
we forget sometimes that there are people behind it, but that's there's always different things to be reminded of, and different sides to investigate and to feel. And I think that just grows your appreciation for it, and certainly I'm that's always something that I'm trying to do.
So, in segue, we're just going to kind of recap a little bit about our time together in New York. More,
Yeah,
'cause we didn't, we talked about it a little bit right there, but I think we're going to end on a lighter note and just kind of talk. We've seen each other now 3 times this year, right? March, September, and right now. So I guess this is in the new year. It's starting out the new year at the hit.
And in the last 12 months, I've seen we've gotten together 3 separate times, which is cool. And I think that's something I'm grateful for, this page and the podcast and everything. I think they certainly add value to our friendship and our relationship as friends. And it can kind of be the point of emphasis to get together. And certainly we've met so many great people that have facilitated different meetings that we've had, and made certain things possible and certain experiences, and that's basically what this week was. So we had met Eric Lederman back in fall 2021, and we had attempted to go. He's a producer for Late Night with Seth Meyers, as we spoke about on that episode 38. And he had invited us out to the city last January to go take in a show, and COVID was rearing her head and canceled the whole thing. So the hang didn't happen, the show didn't happen. So we decided we should just run it back and go meet someone who's become a friend of ours. And he was the ever gracious host and a great person to. Yeah, it was just a really, really good time to be able to go and certainly see you and see Eric. And it's funny, like the last couple of years you befriend people, and certainly through this page you befriend people, but just because you become friends with them doesn't mean you ever get to meet them face to face. So it's cool that we've capitalized on a couple of those opportunities over the last 4 or 5 months, meeting different people that we've met through this page.
To me, it really solidifies the friendship. Like
it does, exactly.
It makes it real that not only, you get to meet each other, but just knowing that both sides made an effort,
right.
It's mutual. It's like the people, offered a hand and you accepted it, and it just comes together, and it feels so good. So I'm excited for, to continue talking with him. I know we were joking with him because, he's probably not listening, but if you're listening, Eric, thank you.
He doesn't listen to any podcast.
Yeah, he doesn't listen, so we can talk shit on him. I know he'd appreciate that. So, but I am excited because we're gonna run it back next January. We're gonna have him on the podcast, and hopefully he's a big encouragement to us and to pushing us to get some bigger guests. Because that's what he does, he gets
things
guests.
Coming.
Big things coming. He gets
big
guests
things
on
going
his
on behind the scenes.
Yeah, dude. He's had I mentioned in the last podcast of who we wanted on the episode, and he's had Matt Cameron on Late Night 3 times, I think now he said.
Yeah.
So he's he's texted, he's hung out with Matt Cameron, so like
one degree of separation.
One degree of separation, people. So start thinking about what we need to be asking Matt Cameron, because I wouldn't be surprised if something happens in the next 12 months.
That would be
fingers crossed. Of course.
Yeah, so that would be superb and really, really exciting. And the last couple of days that we've had, and that's what it's all about, man. You have passions and you get together with people that share the same passions, and there's just that excitement that you have when you get together like that. And it certainly was. It was really great. So just to be able to do that.
We spent two nights in New York and 2 full days. So Chris, what was your most let's say surprising excitement to the 2 days that we had together? So what was kind of the most I don't want to say most exciting, but what maybe surprised you that was wow, that was really nice?
Well, this I guess one thing that I have to mention is just the fact that I feel good on this much of a complete and utter lack of sleep and self-care. I feel pretty good right now. In lieu of the in the aftermath of the trip. But I think in terms of it, I don't know. It's just I'm always kind of surprised that different people that we meet through this are excited to spend time and break bread with us. Because I'm excited for any chance I get, to be able to talk with someone like him and share dinner, share a phone call or whatever it may be. I'm always just a little surprised every time. But it's a cool feeling, and I think that would be one for me. I think I was also, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
that's good for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What about you?
Well, it was at the end of the stay, and I was like, do I really want to, so you got to go out there for two nights into the city, into the hustle bustle.
Right,
and then,
you're getting ready to go back to Alabama, exactly.
Right.
So you're tying up loose ends. You got a couple days left with family before you go for a long time, and
yep, we're trying to figure out the logistics of getting in and out, and
right,
and all that. So, it was just a lot. And I was like, man, and it's 2 nights in a hotel in New York. But then,
right.
What that gave us a lot of good conversation that I don't know. We expect it, but it's always surprising. It's always expected, but it's always unexpected when it happened. You're like, wow, that was really nice. So I feel like you said, you're more energetic than you should be right now. So I was a good recharge.
Yes.
That I didn't really foresee for whatever reason. It
The
always happens like that. So
yeah, the funny thing for me, like I'm never surprised that those conversations happen, like between us. I mean, like we do this shit all the time. I'm never surprised that they happen. I'm always surprised by like how, I guess, illuminating they are. I'm like, how many times do I have to do this to like expect this? But we'll talk about stuff, and certainly we'll talk to people like Eric, and like afterwards I'm like, wow, like
yeah, Eric's great.
Yeah, like that's great, and like I need to. I don't know. Like I'm always surprised.
Yeah. Another highlight. So Tuesday was when they did the taping. They taped it at 4, and we got in line at like 1:50. It was quite the process to get. There was a lot of suspense leading up to the show.
There was the waiting to action ratio was it was something for sure.
Yeah, like we got there at like 1:50. We waited in line. And then got into this room at like 2:30, and like we waited there for an hour.
A few hours of wait.
And then they put you in the seats at 3:30, and you sit there for a half hour until 4 until the show starts. And so the show happened. They had Michael Shannon on, and they had Maya Stepansky on drums, and Danielle. I'm blanking on her last name, from Orange Is the New Black and a few other things. It was a great show. Seth was great, and but afterwards, one thing that did surprise me, it was really cool, was the show ended. Eric kind of popped up from the computer, turned around, and everybody started filing out. And he just waves down. He's like, "Come on, guys, come on!" And we're like, right now, And it was funny because the people sitting next to us were from Australia, and they were visiting New York for like the first time, and they like Seth Meyers. So they're like, I was like, "Oh, it's like, how'd you get here?" He's like, "Oh, we just love him, and we just came here for holidays." So I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And it must have been so funny because Eric started waving us down, and we're just like, "Okay." So we walked down to the stage, and like he's like sit on the chair, we'll probably have already posted this picture, but he's like, sit on the chair, like sit in Seth's chairs, Chris. And I was like, I'll take the couch, and we got this cool picture on the set, and like no one batted an eye. And and it's like, let's take. He's like took some selfies and was like, it was just like really cool. It was like, oh yeah, like he, we're everybody. It's just it was very formal, but then all of a sudden it was just like we were just chilling with them on.
We were in the hangout zone, exactly.
We were in the exactly. So that was unexpected, and like it was really cool. It made me feel good. So,
100%. Yeah, it was a great trip, and I always like with you and me. We talked about this yesterday when we were together, but when we were in college, like we would see each other maybe like once a year for like a day, couple of days if we were lucky, and I think like those experiences, like it makes me so grateful for any time I can get together with one of my best friends. Like I think it's really cool, and even cooler than that is the fact that we're taking advantage of more opportunities to do that now. Like you said, 3 times in the last 12 months, and I think we'll be planning something for later in the springtime, and maybe April of this year, and I'm sure in summertime, and maybe another West Coast trip, and it's good. This is why you work. This is why you you put in effort to have experiences like this. So I'm grateful for it.
Yes, and I will leave everybody with this. I'm not sure if we're doing songs of the week. We didn't talk about it, but I think we probably should.
I think we should. But we'll see. I mean, how hard is it to just pick a song?
Exactly. But I will leave you with this. So if you're thinking about, if you're talking to somebody about doing something, making a plan, and maybe it may cost a little bit more, maybe not be the right time. Do your best to make it happen, and you'll fill the time, and you'll fill it with good conversation and laughter. So, especially if it's somebody that you used to spend a lot of time with and had good conversations, you'll surprise yourself. So make sure to take those risks. They're not risks, but just take those opportunities, and good one-on-one time and two-on-one and whatever, like all that stuff is still really important in this world. So
yeah, man,
do it. Go 100%. Out there and do it.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add to that other than song of the week. Do you have it in yourself?
Yeah, I do, because I heard one today. I actually posted it on the story because I was like I really loved it.
Fantastic.
Did you see it by chance? Did you see?
I did see it. Yeah, I did see it, but I'm excited to hear you talk about it. I'll just get mine out of the way real quick.
Okay.
I'll jump the proverbial gun here. I know we'll probably be doing an episode on this album, but I'll pick "Shame in You" by Alice in Chains from the self-titled album that came out in 1995. That's my favorite one from that album. I've been listening to it a lot today since we had that conversation yesterday, and probably listen to it a lot tonight after we had this conversation today. So we'll book that as my song of the week for episode 94. But yeah, tell us, Ethan.
Yeah, so I popped on, and it just happened that it was on my release radar, I guess, and
the release radar,
and it was the Afghan Wigs posted a cover of Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, an original by the Police, and I was like, okay, I like that song, so I put it on, and man, it was just so good. It had this like it was a different style, so they took some liberties, and it wasn't as like happy and upbeat, but it wasn't like it wasn't down either, but it was just a beautiful arrangement of the song, and the vocals really nice, and it just the chorus was kind of in a way that was special. It was just a really nicely put together song, and it was just one of those covers that just like I was like, dang, that was really good. So I listened to it like 2 times in a row, and I put it on my personal story. And it was just great. And I know people like the Afghan Wigs, and they probably
Greg Dooley.
People love them, and they want us to post more of them, I guess. But it was worth it.
Start.
So I'm definitely into that right now. So it's a good one.
Right on.
Especially if you like the original, I think it does it justice.
Yeah, 100%. That's like one of those covers that when you think about the concept of it before you listen, you're like, wow, like that's ambitious. Like this I want to see how this might work. Like the Toadies covered Heart of Glass by Blondie. And I'm like that. Like I remember like seeing it. I'm like, how is this going to work? But like it works, it works. It works. I mean, it's the Afghan Wigs. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah,
that's all they do. They just work. But those are that's a lovely note to leave this one on. I think that's a really good one that we'll be able to listen to, and hopefully everybody else out there take some time to listen to that one, and it'll be great. Be fantastic.
So once again, thank you all for taking the time to listen to our conversation. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I hope that the year is starting off well and in your favor. Hang in there. We got a lot coming, a lot of big stuff. Thank you to our producer Drew McFadden. He did a great job during the holidays. Got to see him, and he hasn't missed as well. We don't miss recording. He doesn't miss producing and engineering it.
Because that's the thing. Edits. It really doesn't matter that we don't miss. It matters that Drew doesn't miss, and Drew does not miss.
Yeah. He gives us scares. No, I'm joking. he's always right on. So
just testing the heart rate a little bit. I get maybe a little zone 3 action, but no, it's fantastic. He's and
remember, he wants that raise. So you know, if you're thinking about
it's up to you, the listener, whether he gets a pay freeze or a raise.
Yeah, it's one of we're gonna furlough him or he's gonna get a raise.
He could be in the furlough zone or the penthouse zone. It's up to you.
It's up to you guys. Yeah. So but thank you, Drew. Thank you everybody that's listening. Like, share, and leave a review, good or bad. We don't care. Get in the algorithm zone.
What about like the subscription zone or like the feedback zone, the likes, the sharing zone? I mean,
we're big on zones right now. If you can't tell,
in case you haven't noticed,
in case you haven't tell, like that's all life is, just kind of moving from zone to zone and kind of
that's what it's all about. Yeah, well, it's good. I mean,
and when you're there, you got to really be there. So maybe it's your time to be in the patron zone.
But this is a good example of that. I mean, we're in the travel zone. We just hammered through the podcast zone. And now it's time to get out of the podcast zone into the recovery zone. So
right,
yeah,
recovery,
we need that.
Sleep,
it's going to be fantastic. Zone. So thank you all for spending the last little bit of time with us, and we look forward to doing it all over again next week on episode 95. So thanks so much. Take care, everybody. Rock and roll,
guys,
and stay heavy.
That's right. Stay heavy
always.